just giving just a few moments here before I get going. Every time I do one of these, I have to just make sure that everything looks good and, you know, stream's showing stuff up correctly. A bunch of weird little stuff like that. Yeah, after the Mega Man X7 stream, I pretty much I said during that I needed a good palate cleanser for that, and then somebody on my stream mentioned Super Metroid, so I figured I would jump back into this and do something a little bit different from what I usually do on there. I'll try to explain it whenever we have to go through the giant exposition phase of the beginning of this game. I'm just trying to give just a little bit longer in case anybody decides to hop in. Of course, knowing my luck, around the time that I get to Mother Brain, I'll have like 20 viewers, and then that'll be the end of it. These things happen, though. That's fine. The more important thing is that it captures the VOD, and then it saves onto the channel, so that's the most important kind of thing for me. Alrighty, and without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. We've got a long intro to go through here, so I'll try to explain what I'm going to do as we go along. And I also had to reset up the controls because I don't like the default settings of this game. There we go. Okay, so if you want to see this intro in all of its glory, I recommend playing the game. It's really awesome. It's probably one of my personal favorite games on the Super Nintendo, one of the many. I've done this a handful of times. This is actually kind of where I started to get like the biggest amount of the crowd on my channel that I have. I used to try to speedrun this with a friend of mine a long time ago, way back in the days whenever I was a lot more excited and competitive and just wanting to see if I could really get into the kind of real meta of this game. Since then, I kind of like got burnt out on it really badly. I started taking breaks from it. I played a bunch of modded versions of the game. But this one's always been dear to my heart. Like, I've always loved this game, and especially, you know, just like playing through it either like through speedrunning or exploration or what have you. And I've done a tutorial like video before, but that one, and like, you know, it was done whenever I was in the middle of actually trying to get good runs of the game, and I didn't really like sit down and do a lot of explanations of any of the tricks that I did back then. So what I'm going to do is do my speedrunning route for the most part, although I'm going to be taking it a lot more casually than I normally would. And the idea here is I just want to try to go over like all of the tricks and make a pretty concise, detailed look at what I consider to be sort of the basic tricks for getting through Super Metroid in a relatively quick fashion. It's not a speedrun, because I am very, very far from practiced to do that, but it's going to be showing off some of the techniques that are going to be used, what I kind of consider the basic essentials. If you want somebody to show you some of the more insane tricks that are used in the more recent versions of it, I would recommend checking out any of the amazing speedrunners of this game. Zost, Behemoth, Oats and Goats. There's a bunch more that I can't name off the top of my head. But if you're looking for like a real speedrunner's guide to this, they're the ones to look for. But this is a way for me to cleanse my palate of Mega Man X7 while also giving myself a reason to play through this game again besides, like, fuck it, let's do another speed run. So that first trick that I'm doing is kind of arm pumping, and every time that you do that while you're moving, you're actually advancing forward by 1 pixel. For me, it's not going to make a difference. I'll explain that more in a minute, but what I'm trying to do here is generally during the Ridley fight you want to avoid the tail, but for getting a fast time here you just want to get hit as often as possible. So yeah, every time that I do this while I'm running forward, it's advancing me forward by a pixel, which once you get to kind of meat and bones of running this game, those pixels start to add up by the end of the game. The one thing to be cautious of is if you're going down a slope, you can actually advance yourself a pixel off of there, and that can cause problems later on. I'm notoriously horrible at getting a good time here in the Ceres station, and this is no exception. I think my best time was like 41 or something like that. But really the goal that you're looking for here is you've got to try to figure out where those steam jets are coming and basically just try to avoid them as much as possible. Yeah, Mock Ball is actually going to be included in the list of things that I'm going to be going over. One of the first things I'll show off is the shoulder pump, and I don't know if it really needs like necessarily proof that it is working, but it is kind of a way to show that you are getting some sort of momentum boost off of it. And we can do that here on these like beginning slopes here in Planet Zebes. Zebes, whatever it is. So as I run through here, there's this little sloped part right there. There's slopes all over the place here. And as I'm running, I'm not really, like, falling. Like, I'm staying pretty glued to the ground. But whenever I do the arm pump, I ramped off of that one. Didn't really hit it on that other one, but you can kind of notice that sometimes you'll move forward and kind of go into a falling animation. And that's just kind of the proof that the shoulder pumping is indeed working. I can't remember the exact pattern there, but you do basically want to do like a big zigzag through it. Alright, so for this part, what you're going to be doing as you fall is you're going to be counting like a specific platform. You're going to be hugging the right wall here, and you're going to count 1. It's these guys right here. So if we go back up to the top, this platform right here, specifically the long one, the short one doesn't count. But you're going to count, I believe, 6 of those. It's either 5 or 6, so let's watch me as I fuck this up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, move, and then you want to just move slightly to the left and then back to the right to avoid this guy right here. Looks like it was 6, though. We'll do it one more time and see if I can get that correctly. I'll go over wall jumping in a minute. That's honestly like one of the most basic techniques that I could go over in this. Alright, so we just came out of the door here, and then you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, angle over, get back over to the side, and then you can shoot down and hit the wall and get in. Let's see. Whenever you're hitting elevators, you can kind of get to the elevators quicker if you angle your gun up or down and then hit the down as soon as you hit the elevator. That kills your momentum and allows you to activate the elevator instantly. And I'll probably use this space on the way back to show off the mock ball in a very controlled environment, because that's a good place to do it. Now here comes the part where I say, this is not my usual speedrunning route, although I will be adhering to those, but if you want more information on that, you can consult the older video on my channel where I do this, and that's the one that has like the most views and everything else. I'm just trying to grab some extra stuff just to make the run through here a lot easier to deal with. Okay, so we'll go ahead and go over mock ball since we've got a nice little flat piece of land here. So if you just turn into a morph ball in the middle of the air, you do this little, like, it's like 2 bounce animation. And you can even hear the audio cue for it. I'm going to shut up so you can hear that. It goes 1, 2, 3. Now, in order to do a mock ball, you need to morph into a ball in such a way that you don't get that. So there's like a couple of components to this. Before you even begin the movement part of it, just practice jumping and aiming the cannon down, which you can tap the down button, you'll go straight into the down shot animation without having to hold in the down key. And then basically what you want to do is try to morph as soon as Samus's legs are about to hit the ground. You want to aim it a little bit above the air. I'm going to do it a few more times just for demonstration. And notice how there's no sound for that. There's not even like an initial impact. It just goes straight into the ball. Gonna shut up now. So the second half of this is obviously adding movement to it. Whoops. So it's kind of tricky actually to do here exactly because of the all the ceilings and everything, but essentially what you're trying to do is jump into the air, and then if you bounce, that's going to cause you problems with getting the mock ball to work. Notice how I bounced and that killed my momentum, but essentially what's going on is you're gaining some of the movement speed of your running animation while hitting the ground as a ball. So if I just do this normally, it's about 1, 2, 3. Okay, there we go. That was actually a pretty good example of the momentum increase. But essentially how you handle this part of it is you're holding in the dash button, which for me is A on a Super Nintendo controller. You jump into the air, and then as soon as you begin into the air, you want to hit tap down to get your cannon aiming down. And then the last part of it is just hitting the ground, not getting the bounce, and then immediately pressing right. You don't have to be holding right to be going into this jump arc. If I just, I'm going to tell you whenever I let go of the right arrow. Now. So the inputs for it are hold run, hold right, jump into the air, hit down whenever you hit the ground, don't bounce, and then hold right. And then that's how you mock ball. And you don't have to do the full jump arc to get it, although I notoriously suck at it. I'm getting it the other ways. Yeah, that was not a mock right there. You could kind of see the difference. Yeah, like I'm not very good at doing the shorter mock balls, but once again, the kind of run that I'm going for here, the only one that you need to do is the full mock ball. And in a sense, the places that we're going to be doing these later on are going to be places where you can kind of get the full mock ball without really needing to. Like, you'll bump your head on the ceiling and stuff like that. Alright. And And I'm going to leave that right there for now because there's going to be another place that we're going to be using the mock ball, and I'll go over the specific technique for that later as well. As soon as you exit this place, aim immediately up and then shoot. Let go of up to shoot immediately to your left, and you'll take out 2 from the outset. We have to kill all of these guys to get through here, so that's just pretty much a general execution. Like, you just want to just get through that as fast as you can. So here's where I'm going to talk about wall jumping, because this is the first part that it really becomes relevant in the run. This is the tower climb. I can't remember what I called this beforehand. I had a silly name for it. But essentially, this is a technique that's actually taught to you in the game already. This one, like, actually is taught to you by some animal friends later on in the game. But it's still accessible from the beginning of the game, and it has a lot of just amazing uses, one of which we're going to be getting fairly immediately. So, what you want to do is jump until you're pressing up against a wall, again, noting that you do not have to be holding left against the wall, you just have to be touching the wall. And then you will be able to press the opposite direction of the wall and jump at the same time. You'll know if you can get the wall jump, although it's a very, very, like, quick animation check. Samus, whenever she's turning around, she'll kind of do... notice how whenever I'm here in the middle of the air, she's just turning around instantly. There's no special animations or anything like that. But then if I do it up against a wall, she kind of, like, pauses for a moment, either showing her face or her back. Whenever that happens, that is the implication that you can, if you jump during that time, you will get a wall jump out of it. Which, I mean, once again, in practice, you're probably not going to see that too terribly much. But anyways, so climbing up this area with the wall jump is kind of our next task. Or attempting to without sucking too bad. I never was the best at climbing this, just decent at most. Whoops. Tried to save that one a little bit, but I couldn't hit the other side of the wall fast enough. Alright, I've got a little bit of time before the next thing comes up, so now I will say Unreal Tournament. I've never actually played that one myself, but, you know, like, I'm not really a Quake or anything like that arena shooter person, so it's not so much that I think it's a bad game, it's just, it's not my style of one. Is it fun? Do our shoulder pump here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pink doors will always take 5 missiles. This boss, the trick that we're going for here is we want him to jump back. At this point we should have 0 missiles if I hadn't gotten the pack beforehand. But essentially what we want to do is place ourselves right where his foot is going to end up at the beginning of his animation right here. And we want him to jump back. We want him to puke, which he's being a jerk about right now. He's not doing it. Alright, fuck it then. Oh, he only does that whenever... Okay, I know what I did wrong. I might actually die to this guy. That's gonna be embarrassing. Okay, we're good. I actually do kind of want to die on that guy again. I kind of screwed myself up there by having missiles. So whenever you don't have any ammunition during that fight, he will jump back and puke eggs at you to kind of give you missiles to fight against him. I'm not going to restart it, just consult my other video for how to properly deal with him, but the long story short on that fight is you basically want to just throw missiles into him, like get him to puke out missiles, fill up your supply, try to leave some pickups there so that you can save yourself if you DPS him too fast. So here's a trick that I don't know if the community calls it this, but I certainly do, the escape from Alcatraz. This is one of my personal favorite tricks. So if we go through here, we have to bomb all 4 of these, and you can kind of see how long it takes to do this. This is not very fast, and also, after we get over to that side, we have to backtrack all the way over there. But with the wall jumping that we just learned, we can actually kind of cheese this out a little bit. So this one's a little bit tricky, especially if you're just learning wall jumping. But the idea is you want to hit this wall, this second wall right here, and then you want to hit the third wall and immediately go into a morph ball. And I can't really go over the execution of this aside from you want to wall jump again, and then immediately start mashing down and left. And if you can kind of hit the lower portions of these, it makes that a lot easier. So it's left, left, and then you want to kind of hit that right wall for the third one. And there we go. Let's go back and see that again. It's been a while since I've done that trick. Again, this is why this isn't a speed run. Like, I would need to go back and practice this in particular. So 1, 2, and then, whoops. There we go. So it is, let's see if I can get a good, it's that wall right there is the third one. That one. 1, 2, nope. So I mathed this out one time, like not anything super precise, but you can mess this up about like 2 or 3 times depending on how fast you are about it, and you will still, even if you mess this up like, I think like twice, you're still managing to get through this faster than it would be just going up here and being like 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's go across. And then just one more time for posterity's sake. I keep missing that bottom one on the right side. There we go. So through here, there's nothing too much. I can't remember the exact pattern to dodge all those things, but generally just spray and pray is the strategy I'd recommend. I think if you just aim your cannon down and fire, whenever you run forward, it kind of pushes your bullet forward a little bit as well, so that kind of clears out most of the things that would be in your way. These guys are weak against missiles, so you can kind of use this to get up to 5, and then from that point just ignore them. The second half, jump over this guy. You don't need to shoot those guys at all, because if you shoot them, they're just going to spit out a bunch of enemies. That is a good way to farm up missiles if you happen to miss them during the Space Pirates up in the previous section. Our next objective here is we're actually going to be doing what is going to happen a lot in this game, sequence breaking. So we come up to this door right here, and we're just going to go ahead and blow it open. So I'm just going to show off because I especially missed the jump there. So if we try to go through this normally, we get caught by this door, and that's unfortunate. The intention there is they want you to have the speed boost upgrade to where you can kind of get past there before the gate closes. But we're going to actually implement the mock ball here. But if I go into the door just kind of standard, there's no floor to sit on, so you'll fall immediately down, which is unfortunate. But what we're looking to do is jump at the last possible minute as we enter the door, so that we go flying up here, and then we'll do a mock ball through there, which we don't have the momentum right now because we can't get up to running speed to do it in one room. So if I don't screw this up, come up here, and then you can just zoom through all of that. Now our objective here is actually right there. Just start blasting your way through here to get super missiles. Now another trick I'm going to try to show off at some point is those breakable blocks. There's actually a way to kind of get through those a little bit quicker as well. But for right now, we've got super missiles that we're not supposed to have. So at this point we come down to this door, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a cool trick I always want to land there where I kind of like go into a mock ball to zoom past all of that stuff, but I don't think I've ever landed it. Or if I have, it's not been on stream, but it's more the same for me. I don't think I've ever actually landed it. So we have a friend up above. His name is Spore Spawn. He's a pretty integral part of the game. He's so integral, in fact, that we don't actually have to go and do him anymore. He's normally how you're supposed to get the super missiles, but since we mocked balled, we were able to completely avoid that. Allowing us to come down here, pick up a couple of upgrades. Personal note to self, remember to find save rooms. I spend way too much time trying to fight those guys whenever I should just zoom past them. We can get another mock ball right here. It doesn't really help us too much. You can actually run past that even if you don't mock ball, but it does help get us through there a little bit faster. This is the ever famous or infamous Red Tower, also known as Turtle Tower by a friend of mine. Oops, there we go. So some of the runs of this game take this path right here. Others do not. I think the more recent ones completely ignore Spazer. I'm getting it just because, again, not a speed run, just kind of showing off some stuff, trying to explain some of the basic techniques. Which honestly we've used like almost all of the really super basic ones. There's only one other one I can think of off the top of my head. I should have used the chance for the block to try to show off that. Oh well. That little tunnel that we just passed through is probably my favorite single screen in this game, just because of the fact that it completely blew my mind figuring out that you could actually bust through that. Took a quick water break. Okay, so we can't really go into this room just yet, and we're going to ignore that room for now as well. The room that we are actually looking for is this one right here. Again, not a super necessary room, but at least in this order. You can actually wait until after you fight Kraid to get this. Yes! So we want to try to get through here quickly and kill that little bug before he climbs down. That way we can go ahead and open up this door right here. That door is locked until that enemy dies, and since he moves so quickly, he'll crawl down here, and then we won't have a chance to shoot the door before we go all the way back up and around and let him kind of do that for us, and he has to come around as well. So if you can catch him on that first go, then you can save yourself some time later on. And that's independent of, you know, like that's regardless and independent of whether you come here sooner or later. One of the things that really helped me whenever I was actually trying to get faster at this game in terms of routing, you don't want to try to jump straight into what everybody else is doing, like the super like meta stuff, because what you'll oftentimes find is that those routes really expect you to be at a specific level of play that you may not be ready for yet, which definitely happened to me. A lot of my progression through this game came from me and a buddy of mine. I've probably told this story on stream before, but me and my friend who were speedrunning this game would oftentimes go back and forth where he would find a new strategy, and then I would be like, no, that takes too much time. We can't do that. But then later on I would think about it and I'd come back to him and be like, so I found a way to optimize this strategy to make it work better. I'm going to cut off that story for just a moment because here comes another... this is the point that I was talking about earlier about you can get the high jump boots now or later. If you get the high jump boots right now, you can go ahead and go here no problem at all. But the thing that I want to show off is you can actually do a clever jump and get here without the high jump boots using the wall jump that we just learned. If I can actually jump at the right time. So you don't have enough jump momentum to actually make it onto the platform itself, but you do have enough to where you clip that little lip right there. That one. Oh, the spaces go right through it. Okay. And all you have to do is break open one block, put your back completely against it, hold run, and then it's a little bit of a tight jump, but it's not too terribly bad. I just keep doing it late, which is the reason I'm falling. There we go. But if you have the high jump boots, that part's completely nullified. So, back to that previous point, I used to always get the high jump boots before I came here, and my intention, rather than doing the route that was suggested, which was to do Kraid first without the high jump boots, my first thing was optimizing a run, getting the high jump boots, and just trying to make the trip down there and back up as fast as possible. And then eventually, you know, like, me and my friend were running and our times were just slightly different, so, I mean, they were always slightly different. We were always pushing each other lower and lower on there. Those space pirates die to one missile. You want to kill Kraid, like the little baby Kraid, with us, with 2 or 3 missiles coming up here to save. Or I guess energy recharge. So ultimately, whenever you're learning this game, just try your best to just try to learn the routing that works for you, and don't worry so much about whether the route that you're doing is the optimal route, because you've got to get comfortable with the game before you can really shine at it. So I'm not going to get the Kraid quick kill, like I can tell you right now. I'm going to maybe get a relatively quick kill. So we're just going to hold a charge here. What we're waiting for is one particular movement of his hand, and then we're going to fire a charge shot to get him to open his mouth, and then we're just going to fuck him with super missiles. So this one right here, and oh, I missed. Uh-oh. Yeah, that's what I thought would happen. If you can do that correctly, you can actually kill him right there, which I have done once in a blue moon. But we've got him pretty decently off right now, so... There we go, we got him. Still a relatively quick kill, which, if you've watched me do this game at all, that's my most common kill of him. It is very deceptive, like, you have to aim it pretty precisely, and it always amazes me to watch the speedrunners do it after, like, how many times I've tried to, like, save state through it. Which I'm sure they've practiced that, like, millions of times, but... That's kind of the kill that I tend to aim for, is the getting him to open his mouth, getting like 2 supers into him, and then from that point you can usually finish him off with a couple of missiles. Now we have the Varia suit. Oh, now you give me a super missile. Run back through here, missile, missile, missile. So if we hadn't gotten the high jump boots, or even like regardless of that, our next destination is to go back down into Norfair so that we can get those pieces that we couldn't get earlier. But we'll make a detour here. Get caught by all these guys, aim up, fire 1 missile, they're dead. We have to have at least 5 energy tanks by the time we finish the game. I'm probably going to get a couple of extra just to be safe. But you need at least like 5 minimum. And we'll worry about that whenever we get there. I aimed up a little bit late on that, so I missed the elevator. Took a little bit of a kneel there, but that's fine. So first things first, we've got to do another mock ball. We have a slope this time, but it doesn't matter, so we're going to just try to do the same thing. Jump at the last possible second in here. We got the mock. Now we can go all the way over here. So there's 2 possible ways once you get through this area and get the ice beam. There's 2 possible exits. A friend of mine, the one who I run this with, is the one who takes the mock ball strategy where... Oh, that's fun. It's actually hard to aim the spazer there because it can't fire. Never tried that before. So my friend will freeze the guys down at the bottom in a very specific way so that you can just basically mock ball your way back through those gates the way that we had come. I was never good at that, so what I would do instead is just make my way back through here normally. Which I'm sure his way is faster just because of the mock ball strategy. But you do a really tight jump into the air, turn into a morph ball, bomb that ceiling up there, and then you can just kind of mosey your way back this way. Now we head over here. Not doing too terribly much here, aside from just making our way over towards the wave beam. A few more missile packs. Technically speaking, I should have mockballed through the floor area there before the lava filled up. I completely forgot to do that though because I'm silly. So this part is really funky, and this is why I always prefer waiting until after I have the high jump boots to kind of go this way. Kind of got messed up by the lovely plant thing there. Long story short, this jump without the high jump boots sucks. Or without the ice beam, rather. That's what I meant to say. Let's see, we're going to go down here. This is another routing decision that I always make. So whenever we come this way, we can get 2 items while we're up in this area. We can get the wave beam, which is what we're going for right now, and we can get the boots. Which once we get the boots, there's another trick that we can start implementing. And I'll go over that once we kind of get back up into criteria. So what we want to do is just take a big old run over here, jump as far as we can, hit the wall and jump as soon as possible, and then we don't get killed by spikes. For all like 30 damage or something that they do. So now our icy beam can go through walls. We want to just run to the left, jump as far as we possibly can. Even if we take damage, just get over to the left side. Use some clever wall jumps just to get back up this way. So as I was saying earlier, we can go for both the speed boots as well as the wave beam. I take the wave beam first because on a traditional speedrunning route, usually at this point, my health is looking bad because I've ignored a lot of enemies, or, you know, like, take your pick as to why you might be low on supplies. Your missiles are running out and stuff like that. So we'll run through here. We'll get the speed boots. Drop a super on it because it just doesn't matter. That just kind of gets us into the room faster. Wait till we go up twice, 3 times, shoot the door, zoom way the hell out of it. And now there's this little spot right here where these enemies all come up. There's like 3 or 4 of them in a pile here. So generally whenever I'm doing a speedrun route of this, what I'll do is just stay here and farm up all the supplies that I'm missing before I make the trip back. Reminder that I still need to find a save point before I fight Fantoon. So if I recall correctly, our path back through here is actually going to be going down this way. Yep. So this just lets us ignore the big jumpy puzzle section. Oh, would you look at that? I forgot about the save point there. This just saves like a lot of slow platforming and allows us to just kind of get back to this room faster. It's a lot easier to kind of platform in this room, if you're not an idiot and freeze the enemy at the wrong spot, than it is to go through the lava room again. I don't know which path is actually faster of the two, but that's the one that I've kind of gotten used to taking. I used to do the lava room because, for me, it just seemed a lot more straightforward to just do good platforming there rather than, you know, like dealing with any of the enemy stuff. So now we're going off to Fantoon, and we'll have another trick to learn here fairly soon. For right now, getting up Red Tower, Turtle Tower, whatever you want to call it, there is a trick up here to implement, and I am not going to be doing that this time because I only recently learned it, and it is a bit of a nightmare. So instead, we're just going to take what we learned, have the frost, the ice beam, and just freeze all those guys. But there is a way to climb that without having to do half of that. So you can do damage boosts in this game, and I'm going to try to demonstrate one here soon. So those spikes up there will damage me, but if I am holding the jump button and then while facing the opposite direction, if I fire and then, or if I hold the run button and then push in the direction that I want to go, it will give me a little boost. Like that. So you can actually get through this room by doing two little damage boosts right there. So this right here is going to be problematic, but we're going to go ahead and deal with that right here, right now. Go ahead and get our first power bombs. So that damage boost, as far as I know, happens pretty much any time that you take damage, and like you can kind of get that to happen, but usually whenever you do it, you're on the ground, so you don't really get that much momentum. So that's like one of the rare places where you can actually like use that much to your advantage. I know we just saved a moment ago, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it again right here because Fantoon is a bit of a nightmare. Hindsight, I should have waited until I got back up to criteria because I was going to show off the short charging. Note to future self, whenever I inevitably at some point in the way future make another one of these kind of tutorial type videos. Just once again a reminder, this route and all the techniques that I'm using are super old at this point. I don't know what the proper runners of the game are doing for this, so I'm not entirely sure if these runs are still even valid. Well, that's unfortunate. Or if these techniques are even valid, or if the path is even this. Most of the ones that I saw more recently, they do Fantoon before they even do Kraid. Alright, so we should be going off to the right here. Actually, I'll go ahead and address this issue while we're here. Yeah, this is good. So there's two ways to go across here. I'm going to just do a one-shot of the kind of super crazy way, and I missed it. So the problem is we have this giant moat of water, and we don't move very well in the water. You lose a lot of momentum, you can't wall jump easily, it's just a big mess. So the super strat involves basically just getting a good run and go from the previous room and just jumping through and doing a very precise wall jump. The proper standard route requires getting the grapple beam, which we don't do in this run, and basically swinging across there. But we're gonna take a different take on this, and this is the one that I used way back whenever I was running this game. First things first, we gotta get ourselves a little bit of a runway here. Go ahead and open this door. Alright, so if we use this little flat stretch of land right here, which spans from here to about here, if we just do a standard speed boots run, it looks like we could get about 3/4 of the way through this tunnel, through this straightaway section before we actually get up to speed. And this is where a breakdown of the mechanics of Super Metroid is kind of needed. So whenever you are just doing a standard run, like this is not me holding in the run button, this is just like holding to the left. You move until you hit a specific speed and then you don't move any faster. If you hold the run button, you move a little bit faster. But if you let go of the run button, then you'll move as fast as you had accelerated up to. So I'm going to do another run here, and I'm just going to point out whenever I stop holding the run button. So I'm holding it now, I've let go. So you will maintain that momentum even if you're not holding the run button. Now with the speed boots, we also get a third component to that, which is one of the frames of your run animation actually starts to charge up the speed boots themselves. So whenever you're holding in the run button, what's essentially happening is you're rolling through all of your animations, and you eventually hit that speed run, that speed boot animation. But what we can do is, and it's going to be hard to point out the specific frame, so, you know, watch this video, watch somebody who can actually slow down the thing and show the proper frame, but like there's a specific point in Samus's run animation which once you kind of start to learn this trick yourself, it'll just, you'll start to feel it out. Let me get back over to the straight land here. But basically, if you only tap the run button on that specific frame, then you only get the speed boots for that, and you can kind of tell that if your speed's not picking up. There we go. You can tell if you've got it because like you'll need to do 3 separate taps for it at most, and you can kind of hold in on the last one to kind of, you know, just make sure that you get that last animation. But you can kind of tell because Samus's feet will start to move a little bit faster, but then at the same time she herself will not. If you mess it up, her strides get really, really long, and that's how you can kind of tell that you missed it. So we were able to, with the short charge, and this was still a pretty long one, all things considered, we were able to get it right as we were hitting about here, I believe. Let me see if I can do it again. Nope. Nah, I messed up that time. I held in the button. Habits. It's really hard to kind of judge this properly for me. Okay, so we got it right about here whenever I was running from the beginning over here. And that was, once again, still a pretty bad one. There we go. So starting from this side, we were able to get it about halfway through this. And like you can get the charge, which I'm not doing a good job of it. You can actually get that charge if you don't even like without even really gaining like any sort of extra speed from it. It just takes a lot of practice to find the frame where that actually happens at. So once you get into that, once you get into this stage right here, which you can actually do that, again, this was actually already in the game. If you press down while you're in that speed boost animation, you can kind of store it for a moment. And then from that point, if you jump into the air, like just straight up without doing a somersault, then press the fire button, then you can actually, I keep saying actually, I need to stop doing that. You can jump into the air and do a shine spark. That does a lot of damage, it kills enemies, it hurts a lot, and it saps your health. So you can actually, there I go again. If you get yourself out of your somersault animation, you can do it mid-air as well, which we'll be doing that later on. So what we're gonna do is restore our health. I don't need to save because I've already done that here. We're going to put that into practice to get across this moat problem that we have. And also take a water break. So as I said earlier, we don't need to go to the left. I just kind of did that for safety purposes. We want to get this door open, and this right here is our runway. So you have plenty of time, like you can almost get this without even... Oh, you can. Okay. But we're going to use the short charge anyway, so... Or we can just not, that's cool too. This is probably the best place to test this out at, because this is the one where you have like a lot of room to kind of... And right there was an example of me missing it. It's a little bit hard to kind of get it to trigger sometimes. Which the more times that I mess this up, the more risky it's going to get. Because we need to have enough health to get through Phantoon. Well, this is kind of ironic. I usually screw up the first part of this, getting the charge at all. I think one of the things that kind of helps is if you use the shoulders to kind of... Okay, yeah, that's how you kind of do it. You just basically need to get yourself out of the somersault animation. Let's reset this room so I can get some health back. Get that door open. And if you're up against a wall, like what happened there, like if you're up against a wall, you can't get yourself to go into a somersault. So that's kind of what happened there. So you kind of want to stop short and then do all of your crazy shenanigans with that. I should have had that one. That one was just kind of stolen from me. Bad start. It's really funny, but it's also annoying whenever you miss the frame for that. And it doesn't last forever, so... Damn it. At this point, I'm just determined to get through this area. There we go. Unfortunately, we're gonna kind of skizz past that missile. And now we have to do it again. In this room. We have a little bit of a shorter runway here. But we got it. And notice how much health that drops you. Like, that was just 2 uses of it, and we went down to basically our last energy tank so far. If you find yourself not confident going into Phantoon, which is understandable, you can kill those 2 little energy plups for some health. So your strategy for dealing with Phantoon, assuming that you have the Ice Beam, Wave Beam, Spazer, and Charge, is you want to try to get, it's like, I think 4 sets of 3 charge shots on him. If you're low on health, kill his fires. They drop kind of supplies for you. Don't be dumb like me and miss him. 1. Oh, okay, he just goes straight in. Okay, I think it's if you don't have the spacer where you can get the 3 charges on him. If you hold in a charge shot, you can kind of avoid those fires by doing a somersault in the air. I need to do some farming here, so I will not be doing the somersaults. This is always the scariest part of this fight. This is why this is such a gatekeeper for any of the runs that I've ever done. He does a lot of damage. You're not supposed to be quite this weak whenever you fight him in the standard game. So we come here hellishly under-equipped to deal with him. If he hits us again, we're fucked. He's being very nice about his drops. This is exactly why I did the safety saving and why I fully expected to have to. He's getting close to dead, though. Got him. Okay, nice. Whenever you get him close, I can't remember what the exact numbering is now because of my weapon setup, but once he gets into a certain range, you can drop a super missile into him and finish him off. Phantoon is absolutely the gatekeeper of these runs. Or at least one of them. There's a couple of those during this. If you're running this game traditionally, make absolutely damn sure that you remember to pick up the super missiles in here, because if you're doing a traditional routing of this particular routing of the speed run, then this is the make or break of you actually being able to finish this run. I need a swear jar for saying actually. I've made it through a run of this before, and I did not pick those up, and it pretty much killed the run for me. It was like one of my early attempts, and me and my friend got to the point where we would remind each other after Phantoon, hey, go pick up that missile pack. So these guys die to super missiles and regular missiles, as well as just your charge shots. I'm just being conservative now, but I really should just take them out with that. Takes 2 for the fly guys and 1 for the little plumbles. we're going after our next thing, which is going to let us essentially forget that damage exists for a little while. The gravity suit, which is one of the super iconic suits of this series. They kind of prelude it by putting all this water here and being like, man, doesn't it suck to have your movement hindered by water? Get as much of a run go as we can through here. And we just want to jump right as our invulnerability frames are. You can get through in about 3 of them, or maybe a short charge if you have that down well enough. And this is a good time for a water break, so I'm going to do that. Okay. We are about halfway through this game at this point. Maybe a little bit more. So with the gravity suit, we now have the power to walk through water with no problems, which means that we can go back to that tube that we saw earlier. The way that the game kind of introduces the gravity suit is great because it puts you in this really watery area and punishes you for not making it through. So now you get to kind of backtrack through here if you're playing the game casually, and now you don't have to worry about that water that plagued you so much earlier. So we did a power bomb here earlier as we were coming up because we were going to be resupplying anyways, and that allows us to have this door already opened. Reminder to myself, make a save before we fight Dragon. Okay, so there's not too much to say about this. We can't use the same damage boosting trick to get back across because unfortunately the spikes just aren't. We might be able to, let me see. Okay, we kind of can. That one, not so much. Anyway, as we make our way back down here. So Fantoon, the way that he's kind of more commonly killed nowadays is... Oops, I went too far. The way that he's kind of killed more commonly nowadays is using what's called an X Factor. You just have the charge shot, and I can't remember if it's the wave or the ice beam. Okay, I was going the right way. I'm a fool. I always forget where exactly the tube is. It's all the way down the turtle tower. And that's the same thing with Dragon as well. Like, the newer strats involve using the X Factor to just deal a shit ton of damage to them. As if I haven't disclaimered it enough, I am nowhere near good enough to do those techniques, so we are learning the ones that I started out with that I feel like are going to help you. So this tube, spoiler alert, can be broken, and what we're going to try to do is, right as the power bomb animation is going off, there's a specific frame we want to try to jump on, so... There we go, I think we got it. Yep. And that just saves a little bit of time of falling down and having to go all the way back around whenever you could just jump up. Now here comes the fun part where I get lost for a good minute. While I misremember the proper direction to get up here. So I'm pretty sure this is the way that we go for this. Awesome, got it in one. So we are actually going to be doing a Shine Spark that is going to be pushing us through one of these vertical tubes and up to the right. And you can do that by activating the Shine Spark, jumping into the air somersault style, and then holding the angle up button as we do it. And that's a lot easier to pull off than a horizontal one. We don't actually want to go up just yet, we want to go down because we're going to be fighting our good friend Snakeagator. But first we gotta do a little bit of navigation here. We don't need to go any direction but up this way. Try to get as much energy as we can. Snakeagator, not the scariest enemy in the game, still kinda not fun to deal with. Listen for the audio cue. Watch me as I miss every missile on him. It's okay, we just needed to charge shot him once. I'm not too worried about my health right now. We're going to be getting our 4th energy tank here. If I could have hit that jump correctly, that would have been cool. Is it faster to go through here than it is to go back around and deal with the quicksand? Not sure. Probably not. Either way, that's not our problem anymore. Reminder to make a save point before going into Dragon, which we'll be doing here soon. These little prototype Metroids, I can't remember what they're called, but you can freeze them whenever they're on you. They are not as threatening as their proper Metroid counterparts. Here's where I'm going to save. Hopefully. Yes. I think there's an energy and missile recharge station. At least an energy recharge station, but we don't need it. I'm gonna need to do some missile farming. So I'm just gonna respawn this room a couple of times for that. It takes 3 regular missiles or 1 super missile to deal with some turrets that we're gonna have issues with. I kind of shouldn't have used my missiles as much on Snakeagator. Alright, fine, whatever. These spikes are fake. Metroid sounds right. And we just want to get rid of these turrets. Alright, Alright, so the idea here is we're going to be doing the short charging. Stuck in the corner. Okay, he's going to be doing that. Let him fly by. He's doing it again. I keep messing it up. A little bit too quick there. So we want to try to get as many of the speed boost shine sparks into him as we can. Which is kind of tricky to do because I haven't done this in forever. Oh, we actually are hitting him. You can tell because he's getting a little bit darker skinned as we go along here. That's kind of your sign that he is taking damage from the attacks. Whenever you get caught, you just want to mash as hard as you can to get out of it. Whoops, hit that one a little bit too late. Damn it. This is why you want to practice short charges a lot as you're going through this. Damn it. Kind of messed that one up. And obviously the backup here is to just throw missiles into him if you mess him up. So my problem is I keep activating the I keep activating it too soon, which is a big problem. Damn it. That time I actually had it and then I couldn't capitalize on it. There we go. And this is why you want to destroy the turrets on the side as you come into this room, so you don't have to deal with any of those during that fight as well. Most of the enemies in this game, whenever you, the bosses in particular, whenever you get them to a point that they are about to die, they kind of get a shade of red, like much redder than they were initially. It's especially obvious on enemies like Dragon, Ridley, there's a couple of others. I don't think that I need to do this, I'm just doing it for safety's sake. I just don't want to have to fight Dragon again. Fantoon does it, Kraid does it. Pretty much any boss in this game is gonna kind of have that as their health bar. So with the space jump, we don't really care about the Metroids here. I think that's their name, so that's what we're gonna call them. And we're just gonna do a little space adventure all the way through here. Next stop is the plasma beam. And we just want to go as far left as we can in this room. I think my time here is going to be about if I had to completely blindly guess, I'd say about an hour 30 in-game time, probably. Which is still much faster than the game ever expects you to beat it in a decent amount of time. I think to get the best ending, you have to beat the game in 3 hours or less. We can't hurt those space pirates. I just lied. We can hurt those space pirates. Physically and emotionally. We can't leave that room until we kill all of them. Ignore the space goo. So traditionally we're supposed to climb up this way and then go down the other path, but we're doing it the other way around because we have other things in mind. The cool thing about Super Metroid is the addition and inclusion of all kinds of crazy alternate ways to get into and out of the different areas of the game. If you can get really lucky, you can not lose any momentum by getting hit by those guys through there. I suck, so I got hit. As demonstrated by those crabs, you can jump down here. And that leads us to this little secret area. Which once we get through here, will take us back down into, I can't remember, like the area below Red Tower. So we have one boss left to go. That's our good friend Ridley. But before we can get there, we have to go to Lower Norfair. Whoops, that wasn't the right way. I always get a little bit lost here, so bear with me as I desperately try to refigure all of this out. I think we just come down this way and just run all the way back. Whoops, that was a mistake. Damn it. Shot a little bit too soon. That's what happened. I froze that enemy and it caused me to not be able to do what I needed to. Here we go, we're on the right path now. I think. No, this is the way over to Crocomire. This is not the right way. I'm a fool. Is it this way? No, that doesn't look familiar. Okay, so... Again, there's a reason I am just marking this down as a tutorial-ish video. I wanted to break down particularly a lot of the tricks that I use really commonly through this. And also, I don't remember the route. Alright, okay, yeah. Here we go. This is the room I was supposed to get confused, lost in. Yeah. Alright, we're in good shape now. And here's where we jump down and do all this shenanigans. There's a cool trick you can do to get like a really great damage boost that takes you all the way down and to the left over here. I'm not anywhere near practiced enough to do that. But let's take a safety save. Those are fun. We're on our way to fight the Gold Dorito, as I like to call him. Not entirely necessary to finish the game, but it just makes the last part of this a lot easier to do. Oops. It looks really cool if you can get through there without getting hit by any of the fire. You'll notice we haven't used a couple of the techniques in a while. Mockball doesn't really have a whole lot of uses outside of the initial parts of the game. I think you could use it to get some speed like a couple of other places, but once you get the speed boots, that's really it. So the strategy we're going to try to employ against the Gold Dorito, and I'm never going to not call him that, we're going to try to get him to jump back like last time, and then what we're going to do is just hold both L and R, which angles your gun up, and we're just going to just keep pumping charge shots into him like this. If we're in the right position, he'll just keep jumping into the air, and just... he'll never actually hit us if I do this correctly. But once again, we need to get ourselves in the right spot here. So I wasn't quite in the right spot. Nonetheless, I don't remember if this missile is necessary or not. I always grab it just in case. So if you didn't get the screw attack, then there would be places later in the game where you would just have to use the short charge. We'll actually be coming up on the room where that would be the case. So if you went right as soon as you took the elevator here into Lower Norfair, you would end up in roughly this room eventually. And then this is where you would try to do your short charge to get enough speed to blast through all of these and pray that you were on the correct trajectory to make it through all these block sections here. Backup strategy is use the power bombs. The power bombs will also break those barriers. But you need power bombs to break that ceiling if you don't have screw attack. For this room, we want to try to start it with a jump because we want to maintain... the space jump is really clunky and you need to have hit the jump button a certain amount of time after you initiate a jump. If you don't do that, then you will just go plummeting towards the ground. But if you can stay high in that room, then you can skip a lot of the backtracking. So we're heading down here. If you have the screw attack, once again, the reason I prefer to just get the screw attack, you can just jump through those enemies and cut them like butter. I meant to use a power bomb there because you have to use one anyways. As soon as you get out of here, jump, 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 and jump. So there's a trick that you can do on these things. You need to wait for it to jump down either way, I believe, but if you... there's a trick where you can kind of wiggle a little bit through things by kind of hitting the morph ball as you would the mock ball. And if you do that on those platforms, you can sometimes get yourself to fall through them like I did just a moment ago. It's kind of hard to show off just because of the fact that I have to go up and take damage and I'm about to fight Ridley. I'll try to do it one more time. Because I will have a chance to grind up energy. Hello. And these platforms are finicky as hell. Alright, so I'm just going to do the mock ball thing. And you fall right through them. For the gold Doritos, you just want to get close enough to them. There we go. Get him to run through here. These guys are being annoying. Let me reset this room. There's a way that you can kind of bait these guys into doing the attacks that you want. I just can't remember exactly how you do it. Okay. That guy kept deflecting my shots. I might actually die on these guys. Come on, just do your diagonal kick, buddy. They only become they only become hittable once you there we go. That's the trick. Wait for them to throw their little arms at you, and then you just basically do a screw attack through them, and that's how you kind of get them to do the front flip that you're looking for. I think we'll have a better room to farm out here in a minute, so get what we can here. This is actually going to be fine doing it this way. These guys respawn fast enough. I couldn't remember the proper way to deal with the space pirates, but you basically want to bait out the front flip from them. And ideally you want to catch them on the way down as well. That'll be fine till the next room. Next stop, Ridley. We need to put about, I think it's 12 charge shots into him, and then pump all of our supers into him. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 'Whew. Never one to give me a safe and easy fight, are you, Ridley? So I think there was a certain point during that where he was just flying around doing nothing that I could have just gotten grabbed by him, but the past couple of times I've tried to do that, it ended up with me dying. So that's the reason I didn't try to do that during that. We get our 5th energy tank from him. And now there's only one last trick that we have before the end of the game, and it's going to be at the final boss fight itself. I don't know why I'm worrying about health right now. We're going to be stopping by the ship on our way out of here. Already killed the space pirates, so we don't have to care about them. So the last little bit of this is just basically routing. At the very beginning of the game, we had we had a door that we could have opened up way once we started back before we even hit Brinstar. Why am I doing that? Oftentimes you'll forget that you have the screw attack in a moment of need. So this wall right here is fake. It leads to a secret exit. depending on what your definition of secret is. If you didn't have the screw attack through here, then... not through here. In the area coming up, if you didn't have the screw attack, then you would just use power bombs. And basically what we're trying to do is just make our way through this entire area and all the way back to the beginning of the game. I mean, you're not wrong, I do. Wait until you see me fail the Zebetite skip about 1,000,000 times. See if you think JK then. Zebetite skip is... it's the reason that you can get away with doing a very low resource version of this run. And it is essentially what will make or break the ability to beat the game. But I'll explain that whenever we get there, because I'm gonna have plenty of time while I try to do it. So we're heading back up this way. How did you get your Twitter account limited for half a day? We have some time, so I'm just going to try to catch up on some chat things here. I think I took a wrong turn here, actually. Whoopsies. Pretty sure we're supposed to... That's right. I should have come back up this way, and I believe continued going forward over here? No, this doesn't seem right. We shouldn't be running into any of those pirates. Oh, wait. I think I understand now. Let me just double check something. Last time I streamed this game, I had the same issue, I believe, where I just completely forgot which direction to go. The routing here gets fuzzy because I haven't done this in a long time. I'm pretty sure. Do we just go up this way? Okay, yeah, that's right. This wall is fake, but only the middle portion of it. And this takes us back to the Red Tower elevator. If someone wants a fun activity to do when watching the VOD of this, try to capture how many times I say actually, and that way you can post it in the comments, and I'll probably cry a little bit about it. I really deserve to. It's one of my, kind of like time-space filler phrases that I'll say, so it'll pop up without me really realizing it, and then after the fact I'll catch myself and just hate myself for it. Well, I thought you could ride that all the way down, but it looks like you kind of get the momentum sucked out of you after a while. So this is still a little bit more. I think I only got one extra missile pack than I normally would have gotten. I kind of did this a little bit more streamlined than I thought I would have. So we have some time here. This is where I'm going to take a little bit of a water break. After I tried to do some eye decorations. There we go. Water break. Alright. And just a reminder about that kind of stuff, like, definitely meme on it to me about it and everything like that, but if you ever notice somebody doing that, just, you know, be gentle and nice about it. I can tell you from doing streams all the time, it is really hard sometimes to do something and also simultaneously commentate on it without having to just use your brain for like 5 seconds to think about it. Okay, so the Metroids here are awful. 5 regular missiles destroys them. 1 super missile destroys them. Do not let them catch you. Unless you like spending the next 5 minutes trying to get them off of you. Not too worried about my missile expenditure here because we will have a regular missile recharge coming up soon. And these guys give a shit ton of missiles whenever you defeat them. Had a little bit of a panic there. You just want to make sure that you have all of your super missiles before hitting this particular point. Because you can get regular missiles up until this last little bit. Not so much your supers. So we're just going to take as much damage as we can from this little guy. Because I do not think that I'm going to be able to avoid baby Metroid here. Nope. Not even close. That's a big baby Metroid. They put you through this little panic area, and then they immediately give you an energy refill, because if they didn't, I don't think you physically wouldn't be able to finish the game with 1 health. Alright, yeah, I think I picked up 2 extra missile tanks, so I believe that the minimal amount that you can get through with is about 20 regular missiles, 15 supers, and then like the 5 power bombs. Oops. Well, I'm going to go ahead and do a little preventative measure before we do this, because I don't want to have to redo that little bit of progress. Yeah, the vocal filler can be avoided, but the big problem is the solution to not doing it is to know what you're going to say, or to think about what you're going to say. So usually what'll happen is you'll have a thought, and you'll want to get it out right there at that moment, which has happened a lot during this run. I really needed to just kind of slow down a little bit more on some of the explanations, and it probably would have been fine. And we have a safety save right here, so that I won't have to do any of that prep again. Alright, so we are going to turn off the screw attack, the space jump, and I believe that's all we really need to turn off for that, so I'll leave it at that. So, before we go into the room is going to fill up with lava. There's these little things called Zebetites, which they're we'll see what they are whenever we get into the room, but there's a big section of those, and we do not have enough missiles right now to get through those and also kill Mother Brain, and these turrets do not drop ammo of any sort. They fixed this in later iterations, but in this game, not so fortunate. So the solution to this is what's called the Zebetite skip, where if you don't kill the first set of Zebetites, the second set never spawns, neither do the third or fourth. And the way that we can kind of get through them is a really specific kind of damage boost, where we're going to take damage from them at a very specific spot and then just jump straight through them. It's very timing based, and essentially we're going to be freezing one of those donuts as soon as they come out, do a spin jump into them, take damage from them, and then jump through it. It's very tight. This could take me a couple of tries. Here we go. Damn it. And if the acid gets up too high, just reset the room. There we go, we did it. Not quite the traditional way, but we got it. Can't lose too much health going through here. Alright, we got a few supers to spare out of that as well, so that's good. So from this point, ammo-wise, we're fine. Health-wise, less fine. If I take one hit from the spaghetti beam, we're dead. Most of his attacks are fairly easy to avoid. We can even take some damage from at least one of them. If I get below that... Oh god, that's the one. And we're dead. So I'm gonna have to do the Zebetite skip again, because I don't have enough energy to survive this, the rainbow beam. This is why we need to have at least 3 energy tanks for that. And now I'm glad I made that safety save. Screw attack, space jump. So the big trick to landing this on top of freezing the thing in the right spot is you need to get a spin jump in the middle of your damage boost for it. So like that's why I'm kind of keeping myself a little bit away from the wall after. The more damage I take here, the worse it gets for me the later on. I probably should have tried to get another E-tank before doing this. There we go, we made it. I'm just gonna wait for that guy. Just turning those back on to help me with the battle, because I'll sure as hell need it. Get all the free damage we can from this. Be better about taking damage from her. Uh-oh. I think we failed again. And since I don't pick up any reserve tanks for this, that just pretty much is going to insta-gib me. Third time's a charm, am I right? Pretty much from this point we've beat the game, so... This is like probably one of the biggest places to practice, is just doing a low health run of Mother Brain. I think if I wouldn't have taken so many hits on that first run, like the last time, I think I would have been fine. If I don't get it soon, I'm just gonna do another reset. There we go. There we go. If I fail this a fourth time, I'm just going to save state it for the sake of not being stuck here, but let's hope it doesn't come to that. Let's just go ahead and get these guys out of the way too. we're already in spaghetti beam mode. Yeah, there's the spaghetti beam. I think we might be clear. Yep, we're good. Do a couple of push-ups here. Back whenever I first saw this as a kid, this was one of the coolest cinematic things I've ever seen in a game at the time. Because back then I'd only really played Mega Man games, and they had like the really cheesy cutscenes that took you out of actually controlling the character, and you know, like it changed to a cinematic screen. So kind of having this happen without the screen changing, without anything short of me just losing control of my character because I got blasted by a giant rainbow beam. Having the Metroid heal you right here, like all of that was just so great whenever I was younger. Still great today though. Alright, for the people who are here right now, the big question is save the animals or kill the animals? Let's do this GDQ style. Incoming difficult boss fight, just fire. Care a little bit about damage, but for the most part, just shoot. Behold the power trip that is the ending of Super Metroid. Hey Florian, how's it going? So in a speedrun setting, you technically wouldn't want to save the animals, but that's the answer that I was given, so, you know, contractually, my hands are tied. Take this lower path, get a shine spark, shoot up through the sky. That saves a lot more time. For this part, we want to go up. We also want to turn back on screw attack and space jump because I'm silly and forgot to. If you make the mistake and go down, you have to backtrack all the way back up here anyways, and that's not good. Wall jump basically all the way up to the top here. You want to get a run go through this part, because what you want to try to do is as you burst through all of this... Uh-oh, I didn't get it. You can actually shine spark all the way back up this tower rather than having to deal with this climb, and I wish I could show that off, but once you get to this part of the game, there really isn't turning back. This is really going to impact my ability to save those animals, though. I don't think I'm going to be able to make it in time. So all these doors are shut, but if you're going through here, and you just so happen to decide to go back down into Alcatraz, which, fun fact, don't try to do the escape from Alcatraz once you have the space jump boots and everything. It will not end well. There's some animals here, and if you fire there, you can kind of watch them as they run out. This little guy's like, hey, thank you. So we're not going to do the escape from Alcatraz, we're just going to go the regular way. Also, the bricks are gone, so that's even better. Once we get to this ending cutscene, pay attention to the right side of the planet. There should be like a single pixel that is the reward for saving the animals. So my personal guesstimation of my time on this is going to be about an hour 30, hour 45, somewhere in that range. Yeah, I wish with YouTube, like, I wish I could kind of figure out a little bit better how to do the scheduling runs, and I might try to do that here in the future, just so that people don't miss the runs just because I don't set them up in time and stuff like that. Pay attention to the right side of the screen here as this all fades out. There was one little pixel that shot off to the side, and that was our animal friends. 132. That was a really close estimation on my part. The game doesn't include item pickup jingles and door transitions, and pretty much any time that you don't have control of the character, it stops counting the actual in-game time. So that's why it can take about an hour and some change to that's why it can take about an hour and some change to play the game, but you can still get a time of like 50 minutes in game. And then here's the most important part of the speed run. Whenever you're running this game, this is the most important part. You have to do this every time. You have to watch the credits, and there's going to be a part where it's going to flash up a screen of Samus with a little bit of coloration going on with her, and it's going to show a particular logo. And don't worry, I'll do it for you so that you know what to say next time. But it's absolutely imperative that you do this, or else your run is not valid. Nobody will respect it. It doesn't matter if you got a 1 second run of this game, you have to do this. We've got a little bit more time before it happens. Well, it probably wasn't entirely his choice to make that game the way that it came out. There's probably a lot of other stuff that went into it. It's just unfortunate that his name got stuck to it, is all. Alright, get ready for it. Here comes the flashing screen. Dear Force! And that's it, the run's official. Even with all the time that I took to show off the tricks and mess up the tricks, we still got the quote-unquote best ending. So usually I'm pretty quick to turn off the stream here, but I'll go ahead and like I see some commentary about like the timing and stuff like that, and like I just want to take like a quick moment and just explain whenever I was actively speedrunning this game. I started out with times that were well over that 3-hour mark. Like, I absolutely could not for the life of me get to a point where I knew this game well enough. And then that's when my friend was like, hey, let's try to run this game together. And we both were like right around the 3-hour mark and some change. So what we ended up doing is we just kept practicing and our times kept getting lower and lower. I think my best time was about a 52 and his was a 49 or something like that, maybe even a 48. So the best thing that I can suggest in terms of that is practice makes perfect. Just keep trying, keep learning tricks, try to pay attention to what other strategies are out there. Hell, maybe even see if you can find some on your own. There's so many ways to play this game now that maybe there's something that you know that somebody else doesn't, and it's worth sharing. With that, I think that has my palate pretty well cleansed, so I don't know what the next game is going to be because we're getting into a little interesting time here where there's going to be a lot of great games coming out. I'm thinking about streaming Resident Evil 3, but I also don't know if I want to because that's going to be one that I don't necessarily want to be talking a lot during, and I don't want to have to do commentary over while I'm being scared shitless by Nemesis. But I don't know when the next stream's going to be. I'll try to get something out there at some point in the near future, but I don't know what game that's going to be. I want to try to find something, maybe not as terrible as X7, but I do want to try to play like another one of these like little weird, silly, clunky games. So if like if you guys have any of my contact information outside of this, just send those suggestions to me through like Discord or something like that. Otherwise, leave a comment on this video if you're just watching the VOD of it, and we'll see what happens. Yeah, that was kind of the reason that they made the ending like that, I believe, was to kind of motivate people to make it to that discovery. It's kind of funny how nowadays like that's so far gone in the past now. Like it's easy to find a game nowadays where you don't even have to do anything crazy to unlock an outfit like that. Alright, guys, I hope that you're staying happy and healthy during this whole quarantine time. Just remember to stay strong. Try your best if you think that you've got the symptoms. Do not go out and spread them to other people. Um, just best of luck out there, everybody. See ya.